The large meeting room slowly became silent after the investors finally agreed with Jungkook's dangerous plan. The city lights outside the glass walls reflected on the polished table while everyone sat there with tense expressions. The air itself felt heavy because nobody expected the real Jungkook to return after 5 years like a ghost coming back to take his stolen life again. Some investors still looked nervous while some looked thoughtful, and some simply stared at Jungkook in disbelief because the man standing in front of them was completely different from the cold duplicate they had been dealing with for years. This Jungkook's eyes were warm yet dangerous at the same time, and even after suffering for so many years, there was still confidence in the way he stood straight with his hands resting on the table. One investor slowly adjusted his glasses and finally broke the silence. Mr. John, are you truly sure about this man? He asked carefully while looking at Jungkook with concern. Your company is one of the top companies in Seoul right now. Pulling down the stocks overnight will create chaos everywhere. He slowly leaned back on the chair after speaking while the other investors exchanged worried glances with each other. Jungkook let out a deep breath before nodding slowly. I know exactly what I'm doing, he answered calmly while clasping his hands together in front of him. That company carries my name, but right now it's being controlled by a monster wearing my face. His jaw tightened while speaking those words. If we continue letting Eugene use my identity, he will keep destroying innocent people, keep controlling Ryan and Jongsu, and keep building power under my name. He looked around at every investor one by one before continuing in a cold voice. I would rather destroy my company with my own hands than let him continue using it. The room fell silent again after hearing his words. One older investor sighed heavily and rubbed his forehead. But if the company falls, thousands of employees will panic, he said seriously while tapping his fingers against the table. Media will explode with rumors, stocks will crash, your reputation. My reputation already got stolen 5 years ago. Jungkook interrupted quietly while looking directly at him. His voice was calm, but the pain hidden inside it made everyone quiet. That man stole my face, my life, my family, my son. His eyes darkened slightly while speaking about Jungsu. Do you really think I still care about temporary reputation? Yoongi, who had been standing silently near the wall with his arms crossed, finally stepped forward. This is not destruction, he explained in calm professional tone while placing several files on the table. This is cleansing. He slowly pushed the files towards the investors. The moment Yunjin and Charming can get arrested, the company can recover again. Investors can return. The real Jungkook can officially take back his position. He looked around the room carefully. But first, we need to destroy the fake empire they built. One female employee slowly nodded after hearing Yoongi. Actually, he's right, she admitted while listening to Jungkook. The current CEO changed too much during the last 5 years. She crossed her arms while thinking deeply. Earlier, Jungkook used to personally greet employees, help staff members, even visit charity events himself. She looked down at the table sadly, but after that personality change, everything became cold. Another employee immediately agreed. Yes, he muttered while shaking his head. I still remember once I made a mistake during a presentation years ago, and boss laughed and helped me fix it. He looked at Jungkook sitting in front of him now. But the man we dealt with these 5 years almost fired me over a small error. He sighed heavily. We all felt something was wrong. Jungkook lowered his eyes for a moment after hearing those words. It hurt him deeply knowing people noticed the difference but never knew the truth. Yumi quietly looked at him before speaking again. You all said you wanted proof. He reminded them calmly. Now you have it. He tapped the evidence files. Medical reports, hidden transactions, fake identity records, witness statements. His expression turned cold. Chairman Kang and Yunjin committed crimes for years. The investors slowly started whispering among themselves while checking the evidence again. Fear, shock, and anger spread across their faces little by little. Finally, the oldest investor in the room stood up from his chair and looked directly at Jungkook. "We are with you," he declared firmly while extending his hand across the table. "We will withdraw investments tonight." Jungkook looked up slowly, surprised for a second before standing up too. He shook the investor's hand firmly while bowing his head slightly. "Thank you," he whispered sincerely. Another investor stood up too. "We will cooperate fully," he added seriously. "But after this ends, after the fake Jungkook gets exposed," he smiled faintly, "we will invest in your company again." One by one, the other investors also nodded in agreement. The atmosphere inside the room slowly changed. Earlier, it was filled with doubt and confusion, but now it felt like everyone untied together against a common enemy. Jungkook slowly looked around the room before speaking again, and this time there was dangerous confidence in his eyes. "Then let's begin," he muttered quietly while straightening his coat. "By tomorrow morning," he smiled faintly, "Hyunjin will become a beggar overnight." Several investors looked shocked hearing how cold his tone suddenly became, but nobody disagreed. After everything Jungkook suffered, everyone understood why he changed. Yoongi looked towards him with approval before speaking calmly. "The first attack will start with the stock withdrawals and contract cancellations." He pointed towards the files. "Media pressure will naturally follow afterwards." One investor nervously asked, "What if Chairman Kang fights back?" Yoongi smiled coldly. "He will," he answered simply. "That's exactly what we want." The room slowly emptied. After that, investors shook hands with Jungkook one last time before leaving quietly in different directions to avoid suspicion. Soon, only Jungkook and Yoongi remained inside the large meeting room. The silence after everyone left felt strangely peaceful. Jungkook slowly sat down on the chair again and leaned back while rubbing his tired eyes. "One stage clear," he muttered quietly. Yoongi nodded while collecting the files from the table. "Now the real war begins," he replied calmly. He looked towards Jungkook seriously. "You will handle your company and Yunjin." His expression darkened slightly afterwards. I'll handle your father-in-law." Jungkook's eyes became cold immediately after hearing about your father. "That man ruined everything," he muttered through clenched teeth while standing up again. "I want him destroyed." "He will be," Yoongi answered confidently while putting the files inside his bag. "Let me need patience." He looked directly at Jungkook. "One mistake and they'll hurt Wyatt and Jungsoon again." At the mention of you and Jungkook's name, Jungkook's expression softened slightly. He slowly nodded while taking a deep breath. "I won't let that happen again," he whispered. Yoongi stared at him for a second before smirking slightly. "Good," he said simply, because this time he adjusted his coat while walking towards the door. "We are ending everything." Jungkook slowly followed behind him, and both men walked out of the secret meeting room together with dangerous determination written across their faces, while the city lights of Seoul glittered outside like silent witnesses to the storm that was about to begin.